While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any Wager Talk or SportsMemo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite Wager Talk and or SportsMemo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite Wager Talk and or SportsMemo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'm going to be joined by Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels today. We will be breaking down three of today's games here. A big slate today, but only focusing in on three of the key games here. Before we get into those games, though, I do want to talk about one of the big promos we got going on over at SportsMemo.com. It is the rest of February for about $9 a day. It is available over at SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. It is all access from one of your favorites or any of your favorite handicappers over at both of our sites, SportsMemo and WagerTalk, for just $149 each for the rest of February. Once again, that is all access. And that is, like I said, this is an NBA show, but some of these promos that we have over at the site, if you go there daily, you'll see what we got going on. And some of them are not sports specific. This one is one of those that is all access. So make sure you head over to the site. No promo code needed either. So the earlier you sign up, the more value you get on this deal, because it is until the end of the month here. With that said, man, I mean, the sportsmemo.com page, they also have like the live odds feed. Cappers have deals going on every single day as well. Packages up and available every single day on so many different sports. Make sure you check out the sportsmemo.com website today after the show. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple of clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously as we continue to go through this NBA season. With that said, let's get Matt and Jeff up in here with me. What is up, guys? Obviously, we had a great sports weekend. Matt, I know you've been out of town and kind of missing out here. We missed you on Monday's show, but we had Ski Profit from Wager Talk with us. It was our first crossover with a Wager Talk capper, so that was really cool. The best bet section, I hit another one, man. I had the Magic and Bulls under. Ski, unfortunately, he missed his by just a few points. He had the Spurs team total under. I think that one kind of just got away towards the last part of that game there. But overall, man, glad to have you back. Jeff, always glad to have you on the show as well. I was one of the $2 Tuesday cappers yesterday, 5% play, and I'm happy that it hit. It took 2 OTs to get it done, but we did get the win there. Providence got the cover, college basketball game there, but overall, this week has been going really well, man. How have you guys been doing? Jeff, let's start with you.
Yeah, I can't complain. 11-2-1 run in the last 14 plays, 8-2-1 in college
Amazing.
basketball. So cashed in on 5 out of the last 6 days. So definitely been going hot, and in honor of coming back, we made it the triple double package again over there. So a little bit of NBA and a little bit of college basketball. So that all access is about the best deal as you're gonna get.
Love it. Yeah, that's an amazing run, dude. Matt, I know you just got back not too long ago from vacation or from a wedding in Florida where you couldn't really do much, but how's things been going since you came back?
Yeah, so last night I only had one play, actually, and it was Anfernee Simons over 21.5 points. Unfortunately, man, the injury bug has been getting me lately. He got hurt in the third quarter with 17 points, was definitely trending over. But we've been definitely hitting the player props pretty well. You know, we had another 2-1 week last week in terms of best bet player props. I know I wasn't on the show Friday, but I still had a play loaded with Kyrie Irving points and assists. He ended up hitting that and definitely going far more consistent in the NBA than rather a couple weeks ago. So feeling pretty good going into the All-Star break, and excited to break everything down today.
Yeah, speaking of the All-Star break, most of the teams today, this is pretty much their last game before the All-Star break. We'll get into this first one here, the Cavs and the Sixers. The Cavs, they're on a 7-game winning streak here, one off road game following 2 home games. Like I said, a lot of these teams here are going into the last game of the before the All-Star break. On the Sixers side, 3-game winning streak, so both teams playing pretty well right now. This is the second of a 2-game homestand, so they haven't had to travel at all. From an injury perspective, from what I've seen so far, this line is really funky to me because it went from Sixers favored to now the Cavs favored at a lot of books. But the Cavs are healthy. On the Sixers side, it is Embiid and Tucker that I see that are questionable. From a matchup perspective, the Cavs won and covered that first matchup of the season, 113-85 as 3.5-point favorites at home. This one flew under the total there. 209 was the total. But for the Philly, there was no Harden, no Maxey. On the Cavs side, they didn't have Jared Allen. So a little bit of a different look for both of these teams in this matchup today. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Ski's play on from Monday on the Spurs was against this Cleveland team, and it was a whole different story in the two halves that you saw. They dominated the first half. I think they were up like 19 points at the end of the second quarter, and they failed to cover the spread in that game. So you said it, they have won 7 in a row, but they had covered 6 in a row leading into that game against the Spurs. And surprisingly enough, against the San Antonio team, it was the first game this month that they had allowed over 49% shooting to an opponent. And out of anybody, it comes to the Spurs. But, I unless that line movement really means something from the injury perspective that, we've always had to keep an eye on, I'd have to be looking towards Philly in this situation, I think. They shot nearly 52%. They've shot 51.8% or better in 2 out of the last 3 games. But on top of that, their defense has also held opponents under 41% in consecutive games as well. So they're playing on both sides of the ball. Philly's 10-2 against the spread at home versus teams with a winning record this year. They're winning by nearly 9 points per game. And Philly is also, they're 15-4 against the spread when the line's between plus or minus 3. So those close games, and the other one that caught my attention, 16-5 against the spread, revenging a loss this season, but 7-0 at home in a same season loss revenge situation for Philly. So covering the spread in those, and they're winning those 7 games by nearly 13 points per game. So you got 2 of the best home teams in the league, but unfortunately for my Cavs, only one team can play at home at a time. So I think Philly takes the home one tonight, in my opinion. Like I said, unless this line means Embiid's out, because Evan Mobley's been playing like a beast, and if Embiid's not down there, it's a whole different ball game, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point that you make there about the home road splits, right? But I talked about it with Ski on Monday about some of these teams and how dramatic the difference is between home and road for some of these teams. Sixers and Cavs are a couple of those teams that have that huge difference between home and road splits as far as like offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency on both sides of the ball. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game here? We're seeing a Cavs team that won that first matchup, right? Sixers in the revenge spot. Now they have Harden and Maxey. And I know Embiid is questionable, but you think whether they have him or not, this is a Philly spot?
Yeah, so for me, I'm kind of with Jeff here. This is a spot where I would definitely be with the 76ers, but I do need Joel Embiid to be declared in this game. But, the All-Star break is right around the corner. Unless he's actually injured, I don't think he would miss this game, because you're going to get that time off to rest a little bit after this game on top of that. This is also a 76ers team who's won 3 games in a row now. And other than Joel Embiid being questionable, they have PJ Tucker, who's coming in questionable on top of that. As for the Cavs, this is a spot where, this Cavs team is once again playing great basketball, winning 7 straight games. And, I think a lot of it is actually with Ricky Rubio coming off that bench and being able to facilitate that basketball effectively and kind of bring this bench up to play a little bit more. And then they also added Danny Green, who is a veteran presence presence, an outside shooter, a solid defender on top of that. And I will be honest, because of that, I do see things from both teams in this spot for their Cavs. Again, I think their bench has drastically improve going forward. I think Danny Green is going to be something nice. But when you look at this 7-game win streak, when they have won on the road, they've beaten teams like the Pacers, Pelicans, and Wizards. With this 76ers team being surely their toughest test as of late. This is also a Cavs team who has played far worse on the road, 13-16 straight up, 12-16-1 against the spread. And the 76ers are completely opposite, essentially. The 76ers are one of the best home teams in all of basketball, 22-8 at home, 20-10 against the spread. And also someone like James Harden, really elevating his play as of late. 3 of 4 matchups. His last 4 matchups, he's had 25 points and 10 assists in his last 3 of 4 on top of that. So not only scoring, facilitating the basketball very well on top of that. And, a lot of that does have to do with Joel Embiid, though. I do think I need to see Joel Embiid in this game. But like I said before, with the All-Star break looming around the corner, it'd be tough for me not to see Joel Embiid play in this spot, especially against a Cavs team, like you guys mentioned, a revenge spot. So for me, I would agree with Jeff. I'm going to be with the 76ers here.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I my best bet is actually on this game, so I'll be talking about it a little bit more later on. Real quick, shout out to everyone watching this show right now live. I do want to mention I just got a whole bunch of notifications. If you guys are watching here, the Boston Celtics. We're looking at that. I was looking at that line earlier and how it's been shifting down. They just announced a lot of people are going to be playing today. There was a lot of people on the injury report, but Tatum is in, Derek White is in. Marcus Smart is no longer on the injury report. Al Horford's not on the injury report. Robert Williams is still questionable. But so that's just a quick update there for you guys watching the show here. If you guys like Boston and your book is really slow, and now it's time to take them before that line starts to move. With that said, let's move on to this next game here. We got that Mavs and Nuggets game. This is definitely one of the top games of the the day today. Mavs 2-game losing streak there. 6 road game in the last 7 games. So they've been traveling quite a bit here. This is also their last game before the All-Star break. The Nuggets here, they're on a 2-game winning streak. They are coming off an outright win over the Heat without Jamal Murray. That's why they were the dog there. Also because they were over in the East Coast. This is the first game home off a 3-game Eastern Conference road trip. That's typically a fade spot as well. So I'm seeing two situations here with travel involved where I think they both kind of struggle here from a side perspective. From injuries, I see Bertans and Kleber is out for Dallas. Hardaway, Bullock, and Wood are questionable. On the Denver side, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray are both questionable. Zeke Naji is out. Now, matchup perspective, Mavs actually lead the series 2-1 this season. Mavs won the most recent one by a single point as 4.5-point dogs in Denver. MPJ was missing in that game. He should be here in a uniform tonight. Matt, let's start with you here. What are your thoughts on this key game here in the West?
Yeah, kind of what you said, Ron. This is definitely one of those games where I'm seeing things from both teams once again. The Dallas Mavericks are traveling on the road to face off against the Denver Nuggets in a spot where, like you said, they'll potentially be without Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. And as for the Mavs, this is a team who is seeing game time decisions from Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock, and Christian Wood. And, the Nuggets are the best home team in all of basketball. And that's kind of why I'm getting pulled in 2 different directions. They're 26-4 at home straight up and have a record of 19-10-1 against the spread. And as for the Mavs, this is a team who has struggled on the road, going 12-18 straight up and 12-18 against the spread. And for me, it kind of what it comes down to is the chemistry, the consistency, things like that. And for this Dallas Mavericks team, having the dynamic duo of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, they were going to have some growing pains at some point in time. They've lost 2 games in a row. The All-Star break is around the corner. And I personally think that's where they get it figured out. And without Jamal Murray, that sucks that Jamal Murray is out. You always want him to come in and play. He's one of those guys who can go off for 30 any given night. But this also means that the ball is going to be in Jokic's hands that much more. And, Jokic facilitating is oftentimes a good thing as well. MPJ, like you said, will be in this game. He's someone who I expect to come in and play well. Aaron Gordon hopefully suits up on top of that. And then that helps Jokic to distribute that basketball that much more. And I think if those two suit up, the Jokic triple triple-double is in play once again. Tonight I think it was around a -110, -115 across most sports books. So I do think that's a great look. But the team that I would be going with here, if I had to choose one, would be the Denver Nuggets. I do think this is the more consistent team at this point in time. And heading into the All-Star break, I could see the Dallas Mavericks just kind of looking ahead a little bit and being like, okay, we'll get some practices in. We'll get to go away for a bit, but we'll get to get that chemistry going a little bit more, that synergy. And this Nuggets team has been together for years. Their core has been together for years. So going into this game, that's the team that I trust more to go in and cover this -4.5 point spread. So for me, it'd be that Jokic trip dub, or it'd be that Denver Nuggets -4.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree with you here. I mean, I think it's a good point that you mentioned, the how these teams have been as far as chemistry wise, right? If you look at the last two games with Dallas, the way they close out these last two games, you can see they're not in sync, especially Luka and Kyrie, how they close out these games. On the other side, you got that Nuggets team, like you mentioned, the core has been there together for a few years now. Some trends and angles on that kind of pointed me towards the Nuggets and also to the over, to be honest. Nuggets 6-0 straight up, 4-1-1 against the spread in revenge games at home, including 5-0, 4-0, 4-0-1 against the spread when rested. So if they're not on the second leg of back-to-back games, in those spots there, those 5 games, they're averaging 127.2 per game, only allowing 108.2. Another thing to mention, Nuggets 8-1 straight up, 6-3 against the spread in conference games following a road game. So in that travel spot from road to home, if they're playing a conference game at home, they're taking those pretty seriously. To fade the Mavs and also kind of to support the over here, Mavs only 2-3 straight up and against the spread, 5-0 to the over in road games when they have at least 5 of their last 7 games on the road. So that travel spot that I was talking about, right? 6 of their last 7, I believe, has been on the road. And I looked at situations like for them so far this season, if they've had a whole bunch of road games, they've been struggling in that spot and giving up a whole bunch of points. In those games, they're allowing 127.6, only averaging they're still averaging a lot, 121.6, but they're losing for the most part, a minus 6 point average in the full game margin. So to me, a lot of things pointing to the Nuggets and also to the over. I don't think they're going to get to like 250 points, Jeff, but for the most part, I could see some points scored in this one. What do you think about it?
Yeah, actually, that's the way I'm looking. I'm looking to that over. You got Dallas. I mean, you guys talked about the runs that both teams are on, but the one thing that stood out to me about Dallas, in recent games, the 3 out of the last 4 games, they've shot 51.2% or better from the field. Their issue has been their defense. It's allowed 51% or better shooting in 3 straight games. And then you got a Denver team on the other side. Some of those guys like to take a lot of shots inside. So I think their percentage is a little bit different, but they've shot 50.5% or better in 5 out of the last 7 games. So they're shooting well over 50% on average over the last 7 game span. And Denver's gone over in 6 out of the last 9 games. And Ron, I think you touched on it with the revenge situation. I think I took it back a little bit farther, but Denver at home in the last 2 years off of revenging a loss, 19-7 over under, and they're putting up nearly 122 points. But even just Denver playing at home in general, they're averaging over 121 points per game on their court. And one thing that really stood out to me, Karl Malone, since he took over as coach, at home against teams that make 14 or more 3-pointers, playing late in the season, the second half of the year, 15-2 to the over. And the average combined score in those games is 241 points. And you look back over the last couple of years, I think we're even seeing higher totals this year, obviously, than at least more consistently than we've been accustomed to. So a trend like that goes back, a couple of years, that's telling you 241 points, and we're not just talking about games against the Kings this year kind of situation. I think that really does say something. So I do like the over in this one. Dallas has been able to put up some offense, even though I think their defense is what kind of needs to be the main focus during the All-Star break. So I'm going to stay away from the side in this one, but I do like that over in this matchup tonight.
Yeah, I know you mentioned you said Carl Malone, but I know you meant Mike Malone there. But
Yes.
yeah, I think
Sorry.
one thing that you meant one thing that you mentioned is both you and we look at SDQL a lot of trends and angles in that aspect, right? One thing that you mentioned that was a good point is that when we look back further than the in-season trends, it's mainly because the coaching, the chemistry, the team itself doesn't really change much, right? If we go from season to season, I wouldn't take a team trend that goes back multiple years if the coach is different, if the key core is different, right? But if it's the same like this Denver squad, then I understand the fact that you could bring back multiple years. So I like how you added the extra years to that trend there. That's just one thing that I wanted to add. But yeah, it seems like we're pretty aligned here as far as the over. I do like the Denver side quite a bit there. Um, let's go on to this last game, the Pelicans and the Lakers. I believe this might be the last game of the night as well. Pelicans, they've won and covered 4 of their last 5 games, so they're playing pretty well right now. They are coming off the outright win over the Thunder. Last of a 2-game road trip before the All-Star game, the All-Star break. The Lakers, they've lost and failed to cover in 4 of their last 5. So that's like the total opposite of the Pelicans here. They are coming off a 12-point loss to the Blazers on Monday. LeBron did not play that game. He is questionable today. We'll see if he plays tonight. First of a 2-game road trip last game before the All-Star break. From an injury perspective, Zion obviously still out, and we just got news that he re-injured himself as well, so he's going to be out even longer than expected. CJ is questionable, but maybe we see him tonight. Like I mentioned earlier, LeBron questionable. AD is probable. Season series tied 1-1. Pelicans won and covered the most recent one at home as 1.5-point favorites. They won 131-126. What do you see in this one, Jeff? Are you thinking is this a spot where do you expect LeBron to play, and is this a get right spot for them as well going into the All-Star break?
I think that it's almost the opposite of what we were talking about with Joel Embiid earlier. That's a revenge situation. You're looking to come in, you're looking to play for a conference or a seed or ranking spot potentially. I think this is one that LeBron just kind of takes the extra rest. I mean, I think I'm looking. I think he started his All-Star break a couple days ago, to be honest, and is looking forward to it. But you got a New Orleans team that it has been surprising still, even with these injuries. You mentioned it, Zion continues to be out. But in the last 5 games for the Pelicans, they're 4-1 straight up and against the spread. They've shot over 50% from the field in 4 out of the last 6 games. And their defense has held 4 out of the last 6 opponents to under 45% shooting. But it did stand out to me that 5 out of the last 8 games have still gone over the total too. But you mentioned it. You got a Lakers team that looks to be slipping again. I mean, 1-4 in the last 5, 1-4-1 against the spread in the last 6. And New Orleans, you look back last 3 years, they actually have the edge in the series. They're 5-3 straight up and against the spread, and they've split the 4 games that they've played in LA. But one thing that I'm looking at is the Pelicans have been able to take advantage of the teams that are allowing opponents to score. I mean, they're 14-4 against the spread in the last 2 years against defenses that are allowing 116 or more points per game. And they're putting up nearly 120 points in those games, resulting in wins of over 12 points on average. But this underdog situation, 3.5 to 9.5, those slightly bigger lines in the underdog isn't exactly one that has benefited New Orleans. I could be looking at the over here too. I mean, New Orleans is 19-9 to the over as an underdog. They're 18-10 on the road this season to the over. And they're 8-2 on the road off a win to the over when the total's between 225 and 235. So, like I said before, they've hit it in 5 out of their last 8. And you got a Lakers team that is 7-2 over under in the last 9 off a double-digit loss. So I think LA could be looking to bounce back, put up some points. I do find myself leaning a little bit with New Orleans if I'm going with a side on this one, but I think I like that over more than I like the side again in this game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, we've kind of been agreeing so far on the show here. Are you going to be on the opposite side, or are we going to be are we going to have one of those games where one of those days where we're just going to agree all show long?
Yeah, I don't think this has ever happened on the show because we do not talk before this, and I'm on the over
Yeah.
as well. This is weird because the New Orleans Pelicans in this spot, they're traveling on the road to face off against the Lakers, and like you guys talked about before, CJ McCollum is a game time decision. Dyson Daniels is out, and for the Lakers, I actually believe this will be the return of LeBron James. And I understand what you guys were saying, taking the All-Star break early, stuff like that, but I think a lot of that just came down to him breaking the scoring record. He probably had a lot of emotions leading up to that. And we all know LeBron wants to go around, take his victory tour, wave to the crowd, do his little thing, And now what better time for LeBron to come in and save the Lakers once again and, ball out here tonight. So, yeah, I think LeBron James is definitely going to play. And on top of that, the Lakers run the second highest pace in all of basketball. A lot of that is driven by LeBron getting that rebound, pushing it up the court, outletting the basketball, things of that nature. So I definitely want to see him in, but honestly, I mean, I feel like I know LeBron pretty good. I think he's going to play in this game because he just loves his spotlight. He's going to get it done. And, the Pelicans, on the other hand, when they're on the road, they actually do run a higher pace of basketball. They generally score more points on the road. On top of that, to Jeff's point, 19-9 to the over. And, as for this Lakers team, their skid actually kind of started occurring after that Pelicans loss. These two teams combined for 257 points in their last outing, and they might be eyeing that and trying to get right in this spot against the Lakers. And I think a player like Brandon Ingram has been playing very, very good as of late, getting back to his true self. And the Lakers are one of those teams that he played very good against in his last outing. On top of that, and this is just one of those teams too with the Lakers. When LeBron is in the lineup, when AD is in the lineup, they hit these overs fairly consistently, and I think they're going to continue to do that tonight. LeBron James, well, generally I don't like taking a key guy right when he slides back into that lineup. But I do think for the Lakers, they really need this game. I think LeBron knows they need this game as well. It's right before the All-Star break, so you have no reason not to go out, give 110%. I don't think we'll see any lazy playing tonight. So for me, I'd be on the over here as well.
Yeah, we're gonna make that another over here. I like the over as well. A lot of things pointing in that direction. Low key, Matt, I love when you talk about LeBron, dude. Like just the way, just because I know you personally and how you feel about him, but you always have to talk about him sometimes. I can hear it in your voice how you feel about it. It's so funny, but I love when you talk about it because you tell the truth, right? That's how you feel. You know how he plays because we've been watching him for how long now. And I agree with you. I think he does play today. I do think he does play today. For the most part, though, a lot of things to me pointing to the over. I also kind of lean towards the Pelicans, guys. And Pelicans typically we just talked about it on this show specifically, just the road and home splits. But Pelicans, there's this spot here specifically, right? Pelicans on the road, they tend to struggle on the defensive side of the ball. They give up 6 more points per game on the road than they do at home. That's why they're 10-18 straight up, 11-16-1 ATS, also 18-10 to the over in road games, including 5-13 straight up, 6-11-1 ATS, and 12-6 to the over if there's a dog in the game. This is the crazy part, right? Because they're 5-13 in that spot. But if you add that they're playing a team with a losing record, all of those 5 wins came in that spot. 5-0 straight up and against the spread as road dogs versus teams with a losing record. So that, to me, this is actually a spot that they do well in, even though they typically from a higher level look like they struggle on the road here. On the Lakers side, 0-4 straight up and against the spread as favorites versus teams with a winning record, going under their team total in all 4 games. That doesn't bode well for the overall over. But that tells me that Pelicans might be the side here. And if they continue to push the pace on that side there, then I think it does go over. Another thing to mention also, home games following a road game where there's travel involved for that Lakers team, 2-8 straight up, 2-7-1 against the spread, giving up a whole bunch of points there as well. So in this game here, I can only look towards the Pelicans and also to the over. I think I would be with you guys a little bit more towards the over than the Pelican side, just because a lot of roster changes, a lot of movement over there on the Lakers side. We don't know really how they're gonna gel and how quickly they can gel together. But definitely agree with you guys on the over. I know you mentioned LeBron props, Matt, but what do you think about Ingram in this spot here?
Well, if LeBron James does play, LeBron is always one of my target players when a key small forward like Brandon Ingram, a good mid-range shooter, someone who goes to the basket, because LeBron James, again, we've talked about this, he does like to focus more so on the offensive end. So if you're going against LeBron, he's less likely to play intense defense on you. He's less likely to try and foul you, things of that nature. To think back, when's the last time you've really seen LeBron in foul trouble? It's a very rare thing. So again, that's why I love targeting guys against him. And Brandon Ingram is one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's one of the best mid-range shooters throughout the NBA. And when he's really got it going, they run that high pick and roll. He takes a step in, and he's so long that he can shoot over anyone. And tonight with a pace-up spot again, I would like to see CJ in just so you have another key guy that can generate shots, generate attention, things like that. Because when you only have one out there, it does make it that much tougher. You can focus in on him. You can run two guys at him, or when he gets the ball, you can try and trap it, get out of his hands, things like that. But if, in fact, CJ does play, I would really like that. And if LeBron plays on the defensive end, I like it even more. So I do agree with you. I think that would be a good look.
Yeah, well, another thing to add to this over, man, I'm liking it. I'm liking the over a lot more now that I'm breaking this down with you guys. But if we look at the last 10 games, Pelicans and Lakers, top 10 in points in the paint, also in fast break points. So it seems like a fast-paced game where it could be just like a layup drill tonight, guys. I'm really liking this over now. So I appreciate you guys talking this out with me. That's why I like this show, man. We bring out different angles. We talk about things that we didn't really see initially, so that might actually make my premium card. But right now it's time for the best bet section for today's show, and let's start with you, Jeff. Here, what's your best bet for today's show, and also talk to the people about what you got going on the premium side.
Yeah, like I said before, I've kind of made it a Wednesday thing now, being on the show. I got my triple double pack up. So I got my top two. I got two college basketball plays that I liked on the big card tonight. And I do still have to add my top NBA play, but that will be up there shortly. But we've been on a hot run. Like I said, 11, 2, and 1 in the last couple days. So running hot over the last 14, no question. But today's best bet, guys, I'm looking at Zach LaVine going over 27.5 points. It's sitting at minus 125. Might be a little more than I would normally lay on a prop, but I'll lay it out there. I did find two other aspects. You got over 33.5 points and rebounds at minus 115, or you have 30 plus points at plus 115 if you don't want to lay quite as much juice. But I really think 30's on the table for LaVine tonight. Indiana's second worst in the league in points per game allowed to the shooting guard position. They're allowing over 25 on average to the normal shooting guard on the year, allowing over 26 in the last 30 games. But you got Zach LaVine out there, who already is averaging nearly 29 points per game in the last 12 road games. And he's averaging nearly 28 points in just the last 6 overall. But I think the big thing, I've heard you guys say it before, a little bit of, I don't want to call it next man up because it's Zach LaVine, and obviously he's already one of the top guys up there. But he's averaging over 29 points per game when DeMar DeRozan doesn't play, which is the situation tonight. And like I said, I think there's a real chance that he tops 30 here. I like that rebounding look if you want to lay a little less juice because Daniel Theis and Miles Turner are both listed as questionable. So we know LaVine's one of those stretch guys. He's long enough to grab those boards. And if you got two of Indiana's big men out, potentially, there's a lot more opportunity for him to fill that gap. And like I said, if he goes for over 30, you're not worried about too many rebounds. But DeMar DeRozan not being there, I think, is a big factor against this Indiana team. So best bet over 27.5 points.
I like that a lot. He's kind of been on that pace where a lot of his past game log all between like the 25 to like 35 point mark, like in between that range. So I think they put it on there to the point where it kind of seems like a good spot there for against the Pacers team who typically play fast pace, and also don't play any defense. So I like that look a lot. Matt, let's go with you here. What's your best bet for today's show? Also, what do you have going on the premium side?
Yeah, so over on the premium side now going forward, the NFL is done. The Super Bowl has officially put a close on the NFL season. So we're going to be looking hard at some NBA and some UFC going forward. Tonight, I will definitely be hitting this NBA card pretty well. Right now, we're going to have my best bet. This is going to be an official play for me that I'm giving out right now. I like a couple total plays, and there's one spread bet that I'm also looking at as well. And typically, I'm just 1 or 2 a day, but this is actually one of those days I think I like around 3 or 4 plays. So we'll see how that goes. But tonight, for my best bet, we are going to be rolling with Jalen Brunson over 26.5 points against the Atlanta Hawks. So again, in this spot, the New York Knicks travel on the road to face off against the Hawks. And I love this spot for a number of reasons. For one, this is a Hawks team that is 21st in overall adjusted defensive net rating, while also running the 9th highest pace in all of basketball. And this is also a Hawks team who is 24th throughout the NBA in field goals allowed per game, while also giving up the 21st highest field goal percentage. And you guys know, kind of like what I talked about with Brandon Ingram and LeBron, it's the same thing with Trae Young in terms of his defensive ability. I love targeting point guards against Trae Young just because of the pure fact that, once again, he's a much smaller player. He's a player who doesn't defend very well, and he's also a player who can get backed down very easily. And of any point guard throughout the NBA that is good in their back down game or their back against the basket, Jalen Brunson actually might be the best. So I do see a mismatch there tonight because of that. And another thing with Jalen Brunson at this point in time, he's potentially the most consistent player throughout the NBA in terms of shots and in terms of minutes per game. Brunson generally averages at least 37 minutes per game, and in many games, he can actually touch around 40. So again, we talked about that. Every single minute is volume, it's opportunity, it's usage, and that's what you're looking for with these player props. And on the season, Brunson averages 18.3 shots per game, and over his last 3 games, he's hit this in every single one, going over 30 in each spot. He's shooting 60% over the month of February, and is actually 11-4 in his last 15 games to this over when getting 19 shots or more. So right now, Jalen Brunson against Trae Young, I think, is the look tonight. I think he hits 19 shots, and because of that, he goes over against the Atlanta Hawks. Take Jalen Brunson here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been balling lately, dude. Like 30 plus the last 3. I think he's hit this in the 5 of the last 7 games as well. That volume there, his number of minutes he plays, it definitely, the usage is there for him to get this over. For me, I have the game that we talked about earlier, that Sixers-Cavs game. I do like the Sixers here. Even though the line has been moving the opposite direction, I actually like it a little bit more. I feel like we're getting a little bit of more value here. Sixers 12-0 straight up, 10-2 against the spread at home versus teams with a winning record, 10-2 straight up and against the spread in revenge games as well. We talk about how some teams, they don't do well in these spots where they're coming off of a loss against a specific team. Sixers are one of them that takes these revenge angles really seriously. 7-0 straight up and 5-2 against 5-2 to the over in those revenge spots if they're at home as well. So they haven't even lost one of those games. Averaging 118.4 per game, allowing 105.9. So that's a huge margin there. And we're just really just asking for them to win this game here, not even have to be by margin. On the Cavs side, I mean, they're if you look at the team that they played in the last 10 games, we're looking at their offensive and defensive rating. Top 5 in both. Or top 10 in both offensive and defensive rating the last 10 games. But if you look at their opponents, they really haven't been playing any teams that have been playing in good form. A lot of teams have been in bad form. So they're catching teams in bad spots, and that's why they've been winning by margin the last maybe like 7 or 8 games, whatever their winning streak is right now. But from a trend perspective, 2-8 straight up, only 3-7 against the spread as road dogs this season. I know they have flipped, but for the most part, those smaller lines, they're not really winning and covering on the road. Also, versus teams with a winning record on the road, they're only 2-5 straight up in that spot as well, giving up a lot of points, and that their defense is struggling in those games versus teams with a winning record. So for me tonight, whether or not Embiid plays, I looked at 4 games where they were the road they were the home dogs this season, right? Because they flipped to dogs, the Sixers have. So the 4 games so far this season without when they were a home dog, they were missing at least one of their big three in each one of those games. And two of them, they actually were missing two out of the three, and they were still able to win those games outright. So for me, whether or not Embiid plays, I feel like this is a spot the Sixers can take care of business before the All-Star break here. So my best bet is Philly right now at +1. I don't know if we see some buyback if Embiid is actually in the game. So for me, I would actually take this right now before anything else moves. And from the premium side, I actually have a pretty high volume today. I already touched on 4 college basketball games, and I'm going to be adding a couple more NBA here. So today, pretty heavy in volume as far as bet goes, guys. With that said, once again, head over to the sportsmemo.com website. We got the live odds pages. We got the picks and packages on a daily basis. Also, again, that rest of February promo is going on right now for a while here to get the rest of February for, I believe it's $149. And the sooner you get it, the better the deal for you, because it starts right away and it does last until the end of February. It is all access, and like Matt and Jeff touched on, we do all sports, not all sports, but we do more than just NBA. We got the UFC coming up. We got college basketball as well, soccer. I know football is over with, but guys, there's a lot of stuff going on here as far as being able to bet on sports and where we can be a little bit profitable here. Last thing to mention, I didn't know this until like a couple of days ago, guys, but I'm actually number 1 in profit for all sports so far this year, since the start of the 2023 season. So hopefully I just want to continue to going in the right direction, because I closed out last year pretty badly in December. So being able to come back and even stronger than what I lost in December is something that I want to continue going. And really, it's because guys like you come on the show and kind of push me to look at things in a different angle as well. So really appreciate you guys coming on the show, doing this with me, talking games out and giving me other ways to look at sports betting, to be honest. So anything else, guys, before we cut out? We do have another show Friday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific on same channel here, but couple of days between. You guys have anything to promote or talk about as far as like your picks or packages on the SportsMemo site?
No, I was just going to say it feels good to be back home from Florida. Appreciate everyone tuning in the show every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if there's one thing when you get married, do not have your wedding on the day of the Super Bowl. Okay? Your friends will greatly appreciate that. Okay, especially if one of your best friends is a handicapper. All right.
That's tough. All right. What about you, Jeff? Any last words before we cut out?
I got beef for doing mine on the Kentucky Derby, and that's not even quite as bad as the Super Bowl, but my dad wasn't exactly happy about that one. But no, guys, if anybody's in anybody watching is in the Cleveland, Youngstown area tomorrow, Thursday, the 16th, Adam Trigger, Brian Power, and myself will be at Youngstown State for the basketball game tomorrow night. So if you guys are in the area or going to the game by chance, come out and find us. We'll be around.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that said, guys, this is the end of the show. Till next time, good luck with all your action. Peace.
While the 2022-2023 football season officially ends today on Super Bowl Sunday, for many sports betting fans, college hoops in February and March is one of the most exciting times in sports. Whether you love college hoops or just want to pad your bankroll heading into March Madness, we have the perfect special. Starting today, get the rest of February with any Wager Talk or SportsMemo handicapper for only $149 each. So to finish off February for as little as $9 per day, head over to your favorite Wager Talk and or SportsMemo handicappers page and grab this limited time offer. This offer includes not only college basketball, but also any NBA, NHL, UFC, soccer, golf, and NASCAR that your favorite Wager Talk and or SportsMemo expert handicaps. No coupon is needed. The earlier you sign up, the more days you get.